Good afternoon from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Wendy Varhage, the Director of Public Affairs for AFMC. Joining me today is General Arnie Bunch, our commander, as well as Chief Master Sgt. Stan Cadell, our Chief Master Sergeant of the command. We're happy to have them here today to talk to us about what's going on around the command and answer your questions. Thank you for all the questions you have submitted. You still have an opportunity to comment on the live stream, and we will answer as many questions as we have time to do so. Before we get started with opening comments, we thought it would be interesting as a way to get to know General Bunch and Chief Cadell, to ask a few lightning round questions. So we're going to start with both of you here real quick. Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
Introvert.
Climb a mountain or jump out of a plane?
Climb a mountain.
Jump out of a plane.
Would you rather be able to speak and understand every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
The first.
Absolutely the first. Absolutely.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I would agree. What do you think about when you're alone in the car?
Unfortunately, what have I got to get done?
So I guess it's thinking about, what am I forgetting? What am I? What's going on that I'm not thinking about?
Exactly. Given today's technology, if you were given the opportunity to travel to space, would you take it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Ninjas or pirates?
Ninjas.
Oh, is there a third option?
Nope.
Ninjas, I think so.
Nice. Test or sustainment? Just kidding. Please don't answer that one. So
Yeah, I don't need to get voted off the island by part of the command here.
Exactly. So, sir, with that, we just wanted to kind of get to know you a little bit, and we'll let you have the opportunity for some opening comments.
So thanks, Wendy. So everybody out there, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. That in and of itself tells you a little bit about how diverse our command is. We're spread all around the world, executing the mission and making sure that the Air Force can do its mission each and every day. It is an honor and a privilege for Caroline and I to get the opportunity to serve as the command team and get to work for you, the airmen of Air Force Materiel Command. We've had the privilege of being in this role now a little over 8 months, and I am consistently inspired and awed by everything that you do each and every day. So thank you for what you're doing to make us successful, and thank you for what you're doing to make the Air Force and the nation successful in doing what we need to do. You've read our new vision, you've read our new mission that's been up on the screen as you logged in. So hopefully you got that. We had a big offsite where we brought all the senior leaders together to go look at what we need to do to go forward for the future. So that's not just one of us doing it, that's the command team getting together and setting that up for how we wanted to go forward. So hopefully you're seeing that. You've been able to see some of the videos that we've been putting out to go forward. And we got a lot of great initiatives going on. We got the AFMC things we need. We're working on facilities, communication, IT, variety of different areas there, leadership training. We got privatized housing. We got joint all-domain command and control. We got a myriad of things that we're doing as a command, and you all are making it happen. You all are the ones doing all the hard work, and I look forward to your questions as we go forward here. Chief?
Yeah, I just also want to say thank you. Thank you for the time to log in and kind of your interest in hearing what's coming from the command team. We're excited to be part of your team and to work for you. General Bunch and I are try to get out and see and talk to many of you out there in the field, but we know that we're not getting, with a command this size, we don't have the opportunity to see and talk to everyone. So using venues like this to kind of get the message out and to hear directly from you is extremely important. So thank you for taking time to that too. I'm really looking forward to kind of hearing from you and hearing what's on your mind, and hearing an opportunity to discuss what's going on in this great command. Look forward to your questions.
Okay, thank you to both. So, General Bunch, we hear you say a lot, that AFMC is the most important command to achieve the national defense strategy. You mentioned, new mission, vision, strategic plan, but could you kind of explain why you think AFMC is the most important? What do we do that really makes us, stand out and lead the way for the NDS?
So it's a great question. It's one that I hope every airman in AFMC is ready to answer when they get asked. we're the most diverse, complex command that's out there. We do all of the development of the new science and technology to make sure we have a technological advantage. We do all the acquisition of everything with the exception of space, everything from uniforms to nuclear modernization and everything in between. We are sustaining legacy fleets that no one else other than our unbelievable airmen doing all the great work in the depot and running the supply wings and managing the supply chain could keep flying. All 5 of those, and we do all the testing for everything that's coming online to make sure that when it goes to the field. All of those the Air Force counts on us for all those systems. Underlying that as a foundation is all the great work done in the Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center to make sure that our airmen have the right facilities, have the right services, have the right child care, can do the contracting. All of those things together are why I believe what we do each and every day is so important to our ability to execute our mission. And it's why I talked about this in multiple forums. I talk about with my fellow MAJCOM commanders. I talk about it when I'm with the media. I talked about it at Air War College just a week and a half ago. We do our wartime mission each and every day, and we have to act like that, and we have to do our mission because of the contribution. And if we're not successful, the Air Force cannot be successful. So as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit passionate about this one because I really truly know what you're doing and how much it contributes to everything that's going on across the Air Force.
Sir, thank you. So, Chief Cadell, for you, as our enlisted leader, what are you seeing as the big issues affecting our enlisted force? Things like the promotion testing changes, fitness, retention, and how are we addressing those issues?
Yeah, so thanks, Ms. Wendy. I can tell you our enlisted force is the best in the world. When I think about our Air Force and how proud I am to serve the airmen that wear the uniform, our enlisted force are the backbone of that. So think highly of them. As you mentioned, there are some things going on in our Air Force, some changes, some things that have got the focus of many of our senior leaders, whether that's promotion testing for our senior NCOs. Recently, we removed the promotion, the testing portion of the promotion for senior NCOs, and it's only a boarding process. And that's created a lot of angst and questions and concerns from folks out there. What does that mean? How do I compete? Are my records going to be compatible for the board? How are they going to look at that? So all of those questions come up. So some things that we're doing with that. We just had a meeting last week where we were talking about how do we give better feedback to those individuals who not only just get a board score, but really kind of help them decrypt what that board score means and provide them better feedback on that. So we have a team up at HAF that's currently working that. They've got that for action, and they're actually doing a test right now on the next Senior Master Sergeant Promotion Board to kind of take a look at that and see if there's any value in kind of breaking that out and kind of decrypting that and making more sense of it. So we'll see how that comes out, but that is absolutely something that's on our enlisted forces' mind. The other we get questions out fairly often is about fitness. And what is that, the changes to the fitness pieces. There's a lot flying around on social media about, the decoupling the waist measurement from the actual the rest of the fitness test, and we've looked into that. I tell you, my personal view is I don't think there's a lot of value in that. We do think that there may be value in doing what we're doing a test based on right now is on looking at doing mock test or diagnostic test, basically making a time where an individual can go take a fitness test early. And if they score well and they're happy with their score, they can say, I like that, and it counts. The thought behind that is it kind of lowers a little bit of the anxiety that goes in with fitness testing. And that's what our hope is, to be able to do that. The idea is that we want a fit culture. We really want people not to just to be taking the fitness test, to be passing it. We actually want you to have a culture of fitness all year round, and that's really our focus on that. So those are just a couple of things on the mind of our enlisted force, and not just our enlisted force. I think that really applies to all of our uniformed folks. Sir, do you have any more on that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I completely echo what Chief said with the changes we're making to the enlisted system. I think those are all warranted. I think what we're seeing, and we've talked now about for our officers, developmental categories and how do we develop officers so they're better prepared for senior leader positions, senior leadership positions in their specific career field, and how do we develop them? Do we send them to school? All those are designed to get after developing the workforce we need for tomorrow. It's not because there's anything wrong with the workforce that we have today. We have unbelievable airmen across the board. But we're trying to do something that we've kind of watched. We haven't made major changes in quite a while. And what we're really trying to do is change so that we can retain, so that we can educate, and that we can develop so that we're developing the workforce we need for the Air Force we need for the future and the leaders we need. So that's really what the focus on both the enlisted and the officer side is all about. On the physical fitness, you got to do it. It's part of the job. We got to do it every year. The beta test is really to alleviate some of that stress that many of us get when we go in to take the test, and not have a 1 or a 0 where it can show up in your record and it can hurt you, but to give you a chance to do that. Yeah. Now, for those that want to decouple the waist measurement and the rest of the test, I am the one that's probably against that as much as about anybody else. I base that on the fact that I used to box. And when I boxed, I would lose a lot of weight, not the wisest thing that I had ever done. And I knew what it did to my body. And what we need are airmen that are in fitness and focus on fitness throughout the year, not try to do something drastic to make a waist measurement and then do something different. So that's really where our focus is. And just to make sure everybody kind of understands the position that I've taken.
So talking about fitness, we know that the Air Force is looking to do its own program. Do we anticipate the beta test that AFMC is doing to change much, or will that just be about consistent with what the Air Force will be doing?
And so I'll take that one, and Chief, you can add in. Right now, what we have gone with, we have been in dialogue with the other major commands. We've talked with everybody else about kind of what's going on, and we believe that we're pretty close. We may have to tweak a little around the edges when the Air Force policy finally comes out. But what we're doing right now, what you are doing right now, is you're giving us valuable feedback on whether this works or not. We were just out at the field last week out at Langley and got to visit the supply chain group there, and they were talking about how they were utilizing it. They had some questions about it, which I welcomed. But we're right now trying to collect data for the Air Force. It may tweak around some, but I think we're pretty close.
Yeah, sir, I would absolutely agree. I think that our beta test is going to actually inform the bigger Air Force policy. I think they're interested in the information that we get back, so that if we need to tweak anything for it, the bigger Air Force policy, it'll just even make it better. So.
So General Bunch, we continue to hear a lot about privatized housing in the news and from our senior leaders. Do you have any updates that you could give us on some of the specific issues and how we're addressing them?
Yes. So for everyone out there, we as senior leaders owe you a safe living conditions for you and your family. Safe and secure living conditions for you and your family. If you believe you do not have that, or if you are encountering any issues, my encouragement to you is please reach out to your military housing office or reach out to your chain of command, because this is commander business to make sure we're taking care of our airmen and their families. We recruit airmen, we retain families, and we've got to get this right, and we got to make some strides. There are a lot of initiatives going on. One of the big ones that I will say that not everybody's tracking exactly, most have heard of some of the initiatives we got going on, but this one, we actually added 200 plus personnel that are going out into the military housing offices. They're going to be, and it'll depend on the base size. Those are all on the unit manning documents. They've been given direct hire authority to go do that. So all the installations across the Air Force should be looking at that. They should be going out and filling those roles. We have put in place a resident advocate. That resident advocate is to work with the military members who are living in those homes, so that they can work with the project owner to make sure their concerns are being addressed. We're coming out with a new Bill of Rights. I am going to a roundtable meeting tomorrow with the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force and the Office of Secretary of Defense, where we'll be sitting down with the project owners for all privatized housing and going over this tomorrow for about 2 hours with the Honorable Henderson, as well as the service secretaries and the service chiefs. And we'll be working through that Bill of Rights. We are taking steps to where you may not have to pay your rent while you're in the middle of a dispute. We're still working out the final details of this so that we can get those resolved and you are not feeling burdened and go to more of a situation you would find if you weren't living in a privatized home but living in a off-base house. One of the recent things Congress just passed, if there's a dispute over utilities, that now they can't bill you more because we don't have a very good database that shows what each home costs from an energy perspective, and we are trying to work our way through that to make sure that what you're paying for your utilities is really what you should be paying for your utilities. So that one's one that Congress got involved with. Right now we have 6 bases that are kind of highlighted above others that have had some issues. I am getting monthly updates. Those are going to the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force and the Undersecretary of the Air Force with the appropriate MAGCOM commanders that own those installations being involved. This one is personal to me. We've got to take care of our families, and I'm looking at it from 2 perspectives. The first perspective is we have installations within Air Force Materiel Command that I need airmen to be able to focus on their mission and not worry about the homes that they're living in on the bases. So that's, as the commander of AFMC, I want those installations, those airmen that are AFMC airmen taken care of. The other one, though, with the Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center working for AFMC, I'm focused on the whole Air Force. I've gone to many bases, and when I go to those bases, I'm almost always going through privatized housing to talk to residents, talk to the installation commander to find out how we can better support. So we have a lot of initiatives. My big ask is, if you're a commander and someone says they have an issue with housing, I need you to listen to them. I need you to get it routed up. I need to take care of them. If you're a resident, an airman living in a privatized home, and you are having issues, please bring it to someone in your leadership's attention so that we can make sure you get the right level of support.
Okay, thanks, sir.
So can I just add, as General Bunch, you can obviously see he's passionate about this, and it's because it is the families and affects that. So if you didn't think there was much going on in that world, you quickly learn that there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of focus on making sure we get this right for our airmen. So I encourage you, if you're an airman living in housing or if you're a spouse living in housing, please reach out and get help. You got a first sergeant, you've got a commanders, you've got lots of resident, you got folks out there who want to help you and get the things right. So please reach out to them and make sure to give them an opportunity to work these issues for you.
You got residence councils.
Absolutely.
There is a lot out there. Now I have to say, some of this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take us some time, but I can tell you we are trying to put a lot of effort into this area because it's critical for being able to take care of our airmen and their families.
Thank you both. So, Chief, we'll direct this to you. Last fall, the Air Force conducted a resilience tactical pause to combat the rising suicide numbers. Can you talk a little bit about the result of that pause and what the Air Force and AFMC are doing to address the shortages in mental health providers? Is there any consideration to embedding these providers in our squadrons and units?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. I'll attack it first and then give General Bunch an opportunity to kind of hit on this too, because this is passionate. This is again, we talked about taking care of airmen in that last question. This is really it too. It's the big picture piece is, why did we do the resiliency tactical pause? And the reason we did is because we've seen an alarming number of people who were doing destructive behavior to themselves and decided to take their lives. They didn't see a way out. They didn't see an opportunity for what tomorrow would look like. So we really said, hey, we got to take a pause here and take a look at what are we doing, what can we do differently. And the idea of the resiliency tactical pause was not to say, hey, we think this is it, we're done, we fixed it. This was really just an opportunity to get feedback from the force and kind of hear from you of what's going on out there and then what can we do to do differently. And we got lots of feedback, and we're utilizing some of that feedback. But let me tell you one thing I think that's important as part of this whole discussion about resiliency, is that I think the bottom line with resiliency piece, it comes with having individuals who are willing and open to seek help. So part of this is us looking to how do we destigmatize individuals who go get help, whether that's from mental health or chaplains or anyone else that's out there, supervisors, first sergeants. There's lots of different helping agencies out there. So when we talk about resiliency tactical pause, it is kind of a beginning point as I look at this. But we have to build those relationships and open up that connectedness between our force. We just started another effort called the AFMC Connect, where we're trying to actually connect our force, and really it's kind of getting people talking, getting people to open up about things that are going on in their lives and share with other individuals who are there to kind of help and hear what's going on and provide them resources out there within your organizations. The bottom line is lots of resources out there, and you got to be able to reach out to them. You got to feel comfortable with that. But having that individual being willing to kind of make themselves vulnerable and open up is extremely important with that. So what I will tell you is, anytime we talk about resiliency, it's got to be something that we're looking at as a whole person piece there, whether that's a spiritual piece, whether that's the mental health piece, whether that's the physical piece, whatever that is. It's looking at the whole person portion in here, and in offers and resources that are out there. Bottom line is there's help available for anyone who is struggling with anything, any type of destructive behavior, harming themselves, and we need to make sure that we're plugging them into the resources that are available out there. You talked a little bit about the mental health providers and the shortage there. What I'll tell you is I think this is not something specific to the Air Force. This is a wider national issue where we as a nation are short in mental health providers. We're doing things to look for options or opportunities out there to kind of make sure that people are available to kind of help. And there's lots of efforts going on that. From A1Z is our folks that are up at half, and kind of looking at a policy standpoint and how do we bring people, more mental health providers, into the force, and how do we sustain those and take care of those that are in their force. So lots of efforts going on in this arena. And but the bottom line I think I want to kind of foot stomp here is that for those folks who need help, please reach out. There is help available, and don't wait till it gets to a point where you don't know what to do. Reach out early and often. Connect with those individuals in the workforce around you. They're there to help you. We want to be there to help you if you're struggling or you know someone is struggling. Don't let it fester. Get after it. So, sir.
So anyone out there that thought we did the one-day downtime, have the tactical pause, and thought they were doing the high five and the happy dance because we had solved the problem, you're completely wrong. That was a step in a process. Last year, if you read the news this morning, 112 suicides across the Air Force of uniformed members last year, 10-year high. 24 civilians. Last year for Air Force Materiel Command, we had 15, 12 civilians and 3 uniformed. We are not out of this. We are trying to get resources for mental health. There's a conference next month to see what we can do to try to address that. We are trying to make sure the helping agencies that we've been using, our employee assistance programs, and those things are available. We just renegotiated a contract to make sure we had that available for everybody. So there's a lot of effort going into that. Here's what I ask you though out there as an airman within this command. I love all 85,000 plus airmen that work in the command. Love every one of you. No matter how much I love you, there is no way that I'm going to know that something is happening in a young airman's life at Edwards Air Force Base that's working on the flight line, or a contracting officer working at Tinker, or a depot worker at Robbins. There is very little probability that it's going to bubble up to my attention. To handle this, we have to do it at the local level. It's got to be the small groups. You've got to connect. You've got to take that chance and ask someone when they come in and they start showing up at work late, or they come in and their uniform's not right, or they start dressing differently. take that bold step and ask them if they're okay. Only through that kind of an engagement are we going to be able to get after this and take care of our most valuable resource, the airmen, the men and women that make this command successful.
Important topic, you know, and you mentioned the AFMC Connect, so new program launching out. We did get a little bit of feedback that, you know, this is another program and it's just going to take more time away from the mission. What do you say to that? You know, and what's the, you know, how do we do this while we balance the mission and you know, people's lives?
So I'll start, Chief. I'll let you kind of finish. It's not really intended to be a training burden. It's actually intended to be a way to give people topics to talk about, to build that connectiveness that I kind of referenced a minute ago, to make that frontline effort contact and making sure we're looking out for each other, to bring that up as you do your mission on a regular basis. It's not intended to go, I got to go train for X number of hours on this or that. This is really another tool we're trying to bring forward so that we can build that connectivity at that working level so that we are looking out for each other along the way.
Yes, sir. I would just add that it's a tool in your toolbox, and this is something that we're trying to really start and try to see if it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll look somewhere else. But the reality is that we want to provide you, as both supervisors, employees, leaders out there, a tool for your toolbox. It's connecting with individuals. It's that human touch that we're really trying to strive after. Many times we get so busy in our work lives, we get so busy with things that are going on around us that we forget really what's in front of us. And it's those people that sit next to you, that's people that are surrounded each and every day, and we lose contact with them. The AFMC Connect is just a simple thing, a way to sit down and talk about things that are going on. And we're going to give you subjects to kind of open up and start dialogue. But that's really what it's about. It's kind of making contact with those individuals around you, starting dialogue, getting to know those folks around you. I'd encourage you to talk to the individuals that are sitting next to you or working around you. Get to know who they are. What makes them tick? Why do they do what they do? Getting to know them on a little bit deeper level. We call it a little bit of intrusive leadership. Get to know them as much as they're willing to allow you to into their bubble, a little bit circle. But that's really what AFMC Connect is about, is getting to know the people that you work with each and every day.
Yeah, and the Chief hit on one of the normal talking points that I use. I quote General Hoffman, who was, when I was a wing commander, he was the MAJCOM commander, and he said, be as intrusive as your people will allow you to be, Arnie. The reality of it is, unless we ask some hard questions every now and then, you won't know that. And you may be able to answer the lightning questions without us having to answer them ourselves. You may know whether they're an introvert or an extrovert. So anyway.
Thank you. So one of the questions that came in online was somewhat related to this and knowing your workplace. How do you manage bullies in the workplace and, you know, toxic work environment? And what are some tools for that?
So every airman that works in Air Force Materiel Command should have the ability to be given the opportunity to be fully successful in their workplace without any form of harassment of any nature whatsoever. If you do not believe you are getting that and you believe you're being bullied or anything else, that needs to go to supervisors. If supervisors are not responding, it needs to go levels up. That is something we cannot have in a workplace that's as professional as ours, doing a wartime mission each and every day. We're in a constant battle for talent. We cannot allow that to go on in this command. So if you experience it, nip it immediately and bring it to someone's attention. If you're a leader and you see it, you got to stop it, or you will set a new standard. You cannot walk by a problem. If you're a commander, or you're a command chief, or you're a chief, or you're a squadron, whatever it is, and you see something like that happen, you have got to immediately take action, or it will foster a belief that other behaviors can be allowed, and you cannot allow that to happen in a workplace that we're trying to develop to give everyone the opportunity to be successful.
So appreciate that.
Sir, I think you said it best. I don't know that there's anything I could add to that, but amen.
All right, shifting gears just a bit. Can you provide the status of the AFMC We Need initiative and talk about some recent wins and efforts that we have underway?
So let me start by saying thank you. We asked you for your feedback, and you gave it to us. It was over 80,000 comments that we got back, and we've started a lot of initiatives. As you'll recall, the big ones that you brought up: facilities, IT, leadership, communications. What I would tell you is we have initiatives going in after a lot of those. On the facilities, this year is the first year that we have gotten a higher percentage of the amount of money we need to do our facilities restoration and modernization, facility sustainment, restoration, and modernization. And we're out executing those programs to try to create a better workplace. We're also looking at ways where we have manning crunches to be able to move people off base in some places to give them the right workspace and be able to take care of them. So that's what we're doing on some of the facilities. But you'll recall what I told you in one of the addresses: facilities and IT are going to be two of the hardest ones that we have to try to go work. They're ones that are going to take me more time, us more time, to try to get you a better answer. On IT, we have our team building together strategies of what it would take. Where could we invest? What could we do to improve the work environment? We are collecting metrics on what we're losing from productivity because the IT is down, and we're starting to use those. I am starting to use those in messages that I'm giving to senior leaders about how important this is for you to be able to do your mission. We are also one of the test cases for 5G. Hill Air Force Base is one of the 5G test cases. We'll see how that plays out, and we'll see if we can grow that even further. So that's what we're kind of doing in the IT area. On the communications piece, we're having a virtual town hall. That's a lot of communication. The goal is to let you know how important what you're doing is and how it contributes. Another one that we just did last week that may or may not have made it out into a lot of the media yet: General Holmes, the Air Combat Command Commander, and I signed an agreement that we're going to attach or align program offices with mission wings. And we're going to foster a dialogue and a communication between that mission wing and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and how the program office and the sustainment center and the research lab and everybody are contributing to getting that mission done. We did it with Air Combat Command first because, quite frankly, they have the biggest portfolio of programs. We're going to grow that out into each of the other major commands to try to give you a better sense of how what you're doing contributes to the mission and gives them an opportunity to better understand what you're doing and some of the challenges you face. We are on a communications journey. A lot of it was internal. We're doing some of that here. We're working some other things. We're sending out more emails about things. I know you're reading some of it. I got an email from someone telling me I had a grammatical error in my message that I sent out on mentoring the other day. I sent an apology email. And all I will say is Mrs. Ware, my junior teacher in high school who told me I would never amount to anything, is very disappointed right now. So we'll try to do better on that one. 2 weeks ago, we were out at New York City talking to a bunch of think tanks and leaders. So we're really trying to get after the communications piece. One more I'll touch on: leadership. We are working within the headquarters. We're working with a test center. We're working with a sustainment center to get after one of the big issues you brought forward, that you do not believe our first level supervisors are getting the training they need in many cases, and they're not holding people accountable. That training we're working on. The accountability piece is in all of our discussions at our squadron commander, material leader classes, and we're having those dialogues to make sure we're holding the people accountable that aren't doing their mission.
Sir, thank you.
Can I hit on that a little bit there too? So as you heard General Bunch mention, 80,000 comments, so lots of feedback. The other effort that General Bunch has set up is we set up an office to say a commander's initiative office within the headquarters here to kind of look at those comments and kind of pull those together and make recommended changes and things are going on. So that office is under, and they're sitting there now looking through these comments, going through them and trying to help us decipher them and kind of get back and get after those types of issues. So this is not something that just kind of took those comments and just let them go. He's actually invested time and invested energy and personnel into kind of hearing from you and kind of looking at those comments. Sir, you want to talk?
Yeah, I got one other one I got to hit there, and I'm glad you brought up the team that works under General Schaefer. And I get a monthly review of what they're doing. And another one that I should have talked about that I didn't. We are trying to cut our hiring timelines. We're working our way through that. We've done we did like a 10% reduction last year. We did 19% the year before. We are really trying to get after this. We're expanding out what we're doing to try to hire so that we can use different authorities. We're making a lot of progress in that area. We also gave back time off awards as something that can be done under the ACT demo closeout. That was one you asked for that we put in place. So we are taking a lot of steps on these initiatives. Some of the comments that came back we labeled as very negative comments. That's probably not exactly the vernacular we use, but it's close enough. And what we did was we made sure those, of course, were non-attributable to anybody, but if they highlighted problems that we had, we took those things and parsed them to the right teams to go look at whether we needed to take more aggressive action to try to get after things.
Thank you. So as part of the AFMC we just launched a new initiative called Idea Scale. Chief, can you talk a little bit about what Idea Scale is and what kind of ideas are you looking at from across the command?
Yeah, great, thanks, Swindy. So Idea Scale is another initiative that we've got out there. We know that there's innovation going on within this command. We've got great individuals out there who are doing innovative things each and every day, trying to do their jobs, figure out ways to do jobs smarter, faster, safer, easier. And those are happening without the command. We see it all the time. So Idea Scale is just an opportunity to get your feedback, to kind of bring those ideas in a format that we can kind of look through and kind of hear and kind of figure out which one of those ideas do we need to kind of invest in to kind of make sure that they're that we're getting kind of action behind and kind of bringing those up to make them happen, really to kind of get them going for you. That's really what we're trying to do with Idea Scale. But the big picture piece is it's not individuals that are up in the headquarters. While there's great Americans working up here in the headquarters, the reality is the great ideas are coming from people down in the field, whether that's at our depots or whether that's at at our wings or down in the squadron level. It's people out there doing the job each and every day, and they're doing great things, and they say, hey, I got an idea how I think we can do this better. And what do I do with that idea? Well, here's an opportunity just to go to log on to Idea Scale, put it in there, tell us what you think, and let us give us that feedback, and let us get the experts in there to kind of look through that and kind of evaluate it and see if that's something we can make happen, and maybe spread it across the force in a bigger impact across our entire force. The reality is we're looking for your feedback. We need that information. If we're going to get better, we can't keep doing things as we've been doing them. We got to look for inventive ways, and that's you out there. So what I would ask is supervisors, sometimes I know we're the worst sometimes, right? We've been doing things one way for a long time, and we'll look at it and say, no, I don't see anything. I would ask you to kind of take a look at that, kind of retool your thinking, kind of look for those ideas, encourage your folks out there to kind of look for better ways of doing things, and ask them to put those ideas in there. Help us to get better at what we're doing. The reality is we don't need anybody. You don't have to ask for permission to put them in there. You can go in there and put an idea in Idea Scale today. So I hope you will. I hope you help us to make things better, because that's really what we got to do. If we're going to continue to be the best Air Force and the most powerful Air Force in the world, we need your ideas to kind of keep us online there.
So. The only thing I'd add to that, Chief, is that we don't do the hard work. You do out in the field each and every day.
Yeah.
So keep those ideas coming in, and the reality of it is none of us is as smart as all of us. We need to harvest those good ideas from everyone and be able to bring those in so that we can make the command operate more efficiently, more effectively, faster, so that we are better enabling the Air Force to do its mission each and every day.
Okay, thank you. So also something that was addressed in the AFMC we need, I mean, holding leaders accountable. Obviously, many of us are aware of, recent leadership changes across the command. Could you address that for the audience here?
So I won't talk any specifics here. What I will say is leadership and command is a sacred trust that you get and you go run. There's no higher calling than being a leader in our Air Force. That to me, if you're wearing the uniform, that's what many of us have tried to get to the point we are. If you're in those roles, lead. We take anything very seriously. We expect everybody to hold up the standards we're looking for. And so all I will say is leadership is critical. We need you to lead, and we're going to hold all of us accountable for what we do.
Sir, thank you. So when we talk about retention, why are civilian airmen only offered 75% of tuition assistance while military provided 100%? Considering many civilians serve for over 30 years, isn't higher tuition assistance a retention incentive?
It can be. So it's a great question. So what I would say is, given that we have over 65,000, I think, civilian airmen within the command, there becomes a budgetary limit on how much we spend in these areas that we have to take account for. It's not perfect, but we have made some strides. We've opened it up now to go for associate's degrees. We've opened up the opportunity to take more than one class at a time with tuition assistance. We've tried to make the program more usable and better. Where we haven't been able to maybe get everything with tuition assistance, we've tried to use the acquisition workforce development funds. And that's another one that we'll have to go look at and see what we can supplement training and everything else with. That one's a little more challenging now because we're in a budget constrained environment in some cases, and we're kind of watch that. The other one, I would encourage our airmen to utilize the Civilian Developmental Education Program. That window to apply is open through March. We offer a lot of opportunities to do things like Squadron Officer School. We do some fellowships. We do Air Command and Staff College, Air War College. I would encourage you to look for those opportunities to grow your knowledge base and increase your knowledge and be able to move out on that. So I can't give you a great answer that I'm going to move it or go try to get it to 100. I can say that it's a pretty good program to give you 75% to try to get an associate's or a bachelor's or a master's or a doctorate. And we will continue to look at ways to make it as user-friendly as we can and open that aperture.
Thank you. So we've had several questions come in on the Fit for Life fitness program at Sustainment Center. Can you provide an update on that?
So right as we did our first virtual town hall was when that kind of got released. And at the time it said it was suspended, and it was in August of when it was done. And right now it's still suspended. General Kirkland and his team will relook at it in August of this year, and then they will let me know what they've decided based on the facts that they found and the data and how the productivity's going. So it's still suspended for right now. You can still utilize, if you're a government civilian, you can still utilize all the fitness facilities at no cost. And we know that's something that's out there, and we will look at it and we'll give you a better answer later on.
Okay, thank you. So that's another one that came in online is, when can we expect to find out about the Senior Leader Enlisted Commissioning Program results?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So let me talk to you a little bit about the process, because that seems to confuse folks sometimes. So the way the process works is, this is an opportunity for senior leaders to look and select individuals to go to commissioning sources, whether that's ROTC or whether that's some other commissioning source around there. Most of them are in the ROTC or OTS lanes there. But the way the process works is, senior leaders, usually 4-star commanders, some of them are half-staff level, some of our senior leaders up there, they select individuals as an opportunity to say, and they, obviously the package goes up, there's a board that's held, and those individuals are selected. But before the announcements are made, we look across the whole spectrum just to make sure that we're not missing anything, make sure that we've dotted all of our T's, dotted our I's, crossed our T's, and we've done all of our homework for that process. So that's really kind of what's happening right now. So bottom line is, once that we get the okay from the HAF staff that we can release those results, we will absolutely do that. It should be coming soon. I think it's scheduled within the next 2 weeks, but we'll get an answer on that for sure and get back, provide that for you, the follow-on piece here. So.
Thank you. So Chief, while we're at you, can you talk a little bit about why do we still require official photos and fitness score sheets for the Outstanding Airman of the Year and not for senior NCO enlisted promotion boards, especially E8 and E9?
Yeah. So this question comes up occasionally. And it's a great question. When you start looking at it, it's like, why do we do this? It seems to be a disconnect there. But I'll tell you, I don't really think there is. I see those as two separate processes. When we start talking about promotion, we don't currently have provide photos for promotion boards to consider. And when we're really looking at promotions, we're looking at who do we think can perform at that next level? Who's ready to perform at that, whatever that next rank level is? And we kind of look at their background, their history, and then we look at their potential to serve in that next higher role. But when we're looking at for selecting someone for 12 Outstanding Airmen a year, this is one of our premier programs within our force. Well, we're trying to recognize those experts in their field who are doing outstanding things and really representing our force to the American public. And as part of that there is a little bit of a looking at making sure that they're meeting standards, and there's nothing that would surprise us from a photo, so it doesn't. But the bigger picture piece, I think, is that we're also using those photos as a way for those people selected to highlight them around our force, whether they're going to be displayed in magazines. If you go over here in Dayton to the National Museum of the Air Force, one of the walls you see is our 12 Outstanding Airmen of the Year. Those photos are displayed up there. They're also displayed at the Pentagon, at our headquarters Air Force. So I think there is value in having those photos for the 12 Outstanding Airmen of the Year board, but I don't think that makes sense to do them for our promotion boards. I think there is I draw a difference in there. So.
Thank you. So the topic that's been on everybody's mind across the Air Force is the stand-up of Space Force, of course. So can you talk a little bit about how you anticipate that will affect AFMC and what opportunities might there be if somebody wants to transfer into Space Force, in the uniform side?
So that's a great question, and there is a lot going on, and I would encourage you to read all the news, and there's daily you're seeing a lot of articles, there are a lot of moving pieces, so I'll give you where I think we are today. And I'm sure some of this will change, but I'll tell you where we're at right now. For Air Force Materiel Command and the airmen that work within Air Force Materiel Command, I don't see a ton of change immediately with what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. We are still going to provide the installation mission support for everybody. That's not going to change. We'll continue to do that. We will continue to do research in science and technology to support the Space Force. We may make a change to where some of those individuals are part of the Space Force, but they work in the Air Force Research Laboratory. But that may not be limited to one particular directorate, because the way that I look at it, technology doesn't really know its applicability until you tell it. So last year, the team that won the Outstanding Team Award in a certain criteria that dealt with space was an space situational awareness, and it was out of Rome, New York, not Kirtland, where the Space Vehicles Directorate is. And so we will create an environment so that the science and technology we're doing in sensors or in info or materials or human performance, all of those, and the Space Vehicles Directorate can all feed back into where we need to go for the Space Force to develop that technology and to keep that capability as a warfighting domain to make us dominate in space, which is what we're supposed to do and we need to do. The other piece that we're talking about, and we want to make sure that we look at very much as we go forward, we don't want to create a situation where we become so insular with our force that people can't go to the Space Force and back. In an acquisition type of environment. If it's communications, well, communications could apply to how we're going to communicate to space, communicate to the Navy, communicate to anyone. We need to create enough permeability so that we can move people back and forth and develop the right leaders to be better prepared so that we can seamlessly apply air and space power to get the nation's missions done. So I really don't believe it's going to change dramatically for us, at least not right now. We may have some individuals that become part of the Space Force. All those things are being worked. There's nothing finalized right now. But we want to be able to allow people to move back and forth. And what my message to AFMC is, we need to make General Chief of Space Ops Raymond successful. We need to make it successful because space is a warfighting domain, and the work we do for them each and every day is our wartime mission, and we got to make sure we do it so that we remain dominant in that environment that we count on so heavily.
Thanks. So we're down to just our last couple questions here, but I would be remiss if we did not ask about the S&T 2030 and where we are with that strategy.
So great question. So the Science and Technology 2030 strategy was signed out by Secretary Wilson. When we first got here, when I first arrived, I asked the team to build an implementation plan, and they have built that implementation plan, and we're already off executing that implementation plan. Couple things that are big focus areas of the whole S&T 2030. Competition. We are in a competition. We need ideas to compete, to get funding, and to move forward. And if they're not making the progress that we need them to make, then we're going to off-ramp them. We need to make sure that we open up an environment where we can take ideas from academia, industry, others, as well as internal to the research laboratory, and be able to take those and do the right research and move that forward. So that's a big focus area. We have realigned the way we look at some of our bigger programs. We've established a process to develop ideas and select Vanguard programs. Vanguard programs, which we have 3 of those right now, one for space, one for weapons, and one for low-cost attritable systems. And those programs are, we believe, game changers in the way that we can employ air power. We're managing those programs differently than we have in the past. And this was a big topic that we had just last week with Air Combat Command, with General Holmes and Dr. Roper, and with AFMC as to how we move forward on those. So that one's another big effort. So we really have put a lot of emphasis in it. We've got to get the right people. That's another big emphasis area. How do you get the right people in? We built an implementation plan. We're probably not moving as quickly as some people want us to, but we're off and running. We're on a plan. I'm getting regular updates, and I'm very happy with how the team's moving forward.
Okay, thanks, sir. So for both of you, as we kind of wrap things up here, talk about how you find balance in your life, just real briefly.
I'll start, sir. So I will tell you, it's when I think of balance, with work-life balance, I don't usually use the word balance. I kind of use the word rhythm, because I think that it's more like a sine wave. And sometimes I do better at home, sometimes I don't. And usually the first vector I get from that is usually my spouse. Rhonda will tell me when I don't got it right. So bottom line, I strive to kind of work to get a balance in there, or a sine wave in there, however you look at that. But the reality is I'm probably not the best at it. I'm probably not the best example, but I do strive to make those times. I think that family's important, right? It's extremely important, and those. So our families, they give so much for this to allow us to serve. So we owe them to make sure that we are spending valuable time with them. And my spouse is very good about that. Rhonda, she'll let me know if we don't got it right, and we'll work on that. We'll spend some time doing other things. But I guess what I'm saying is it's something that we're constantly working on, constantly looking at, and kind of evaluating each and every day to kind of take a look at where am I at. Do I need to spend more time at work because there's a project going on, there's something going on, or we got to take care of this, or is there some times where I can say, okay, yep, I need to take a little bit of a knee and I got to focus on things at home a little bit too. So it's something we constantly got to be after.
So balance. It's always an interesting dialogue. When I went to Group Commander's course, I had an individual explain to me who was our mentor. He was a lieutenant general, and I've used his quote ever since then. He said, anybody that tells me that they've got work, family, spiritual, and fitness and health all perfectly balanced, those people are liars. The reality of it is it's never all perfectly balanced. And you constantly have to make decisions on where you're going to put your emphasis and what you need. I, much like the Chief, I spend a great deal of time on what I refer to as the WAP, the Wife Appeasement Plan, because I often do get this out of balance with the amount of focus that I put at work and what I'm doing for the mission, and there are times that you have to step away from that. I do not want you to run out of family before you run out of Air Force. Families are critical. If you're a military member out there and you've done a bunch of PCSs, go home and tell your spouse thank you. They are the best value the American taxpayer gets. We don't give them a penny, and we go do cool jobs in the uniform, and they try to find schools, doctors, places to worship, sports teams, all those things. So if you haven't gone home and said thank you, you may be a little out of balance. You may need to go home and say thank you. But the reality of it is there are times that the mission's just got to come first. And that's where I will personally go home and say, Caroline, I got to do this. Here we go. There are other times that I will come here and say, you guys got this. I got to get away for the weekend so that I can get back with the family. Or you need to get that quiet time to get your spirituality right and get yourself more comfortable. Or you've not been working out. You got to get after it. So it's a constant give and take that I don't believe we ever get perfect, but it is one that we do need to think about, and we need to listen to those around us. There are times that we will not understand the amount of stress we're under until someone comes to you and says, boss, you need a week off for everybody's sake. So we just need to be willing to listen, and that's part of that, knowing each other and having that constant communication and being willing to ask that tough question every now and then along the way.
Okay, thank you. Well, this has been a fast hour. We've actually almost at the end of the hour here, so I just want to offer you some brief parting shots before we go.
So thank you. So just want to say this is the first time we've done this in this format with both of us together. Really, hopefully get some good feedback from you all on what we can do to improve. But the reality is this is an opportunity for us to kind of share with you what's going on in the command and what's going on around our Air Force, and to hear from you. And we thank you for spending some time to hear that. If you hear nothing else from anything I said, I just wanted you to hear this, and that is thank you. Thank you for what you do for our mission. Thank you for what you do for our country. Thank you for what you do for AFMC. As you heard, I truly believe this is the most important MAJCOM for all the reasons that you heard, and because of that, it's only that way because of you and for what you do for the AFMC family. I ask you to think about some of the things we talked about, specifically about taking care of yourself, taking care of those folks that are standing around you, that sit next to you, that work around you. Look out for them. Please take care of that. We look forward to seeing you as we come out there and visit the installations around AFMC. Thank you very much, and look forward to talking to you soon.
So for me, thank you for taking the time to dial in and watch and see it all. I really appreciate it. We do want your feedback. If this doesn't work, let us know. We'll try to do something else. But it's an opportunity for you to get us kind of candidly giving you where we're at. Thank you for what you do. It is an honor and a privilege to work for you. You are unbelievable, and you all inspire me every day to come to work, and you make it a joy to come in and enjoy. When I come out and see you, you inspire me to go fight another budget battle. You inspire me to go to another meeting. You inspire me to go try to remove roadblocks and get you the resources you need to get your mission done because you're the ones that are doing the tough mission. Keep doing your wartime mission each and every day. Lean into it with the right sense of urgency. We'll get you answers to all the other questions. And if you had something you didn't want to ask, I'm in the global, okay? Open shots, fire away, okay? Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you. Appreciate your time today for both of you. I think this is a valuable session for all. And out there, thank you too for joining us. I'll echo those thoughts. And just as a reminder, this whole session will be on its entirety in Facebook, as well as the AFMC Divids page with a full transcript in the coming days here. So thank you.